Well, once again, fellow gamers, having a lot of fun trying to get this phone to record video longer than a certain amount of time. I'm ready to throw it out the window. I actually need, at this point, a real camera to do what I want to do these days. Let's hope that happens at some point for me. So, what I got here, Ostfront, of course, a variant that we've come up with. It's a quick play variant. I understand that I haven't shown you the base game yet. You haven't skipped or missed a video or anything. We'll be coming back to that. So we're doing things kind of in reverse. But what we got here is a variant, quick play variant of that. So I'll run through it real quick for you. I've been play testing it and have a lot of fun with it. That's why I wanted to share this with you. And I should add, this will most likely be 2 videos in a 2-part series because of the phone. So what you've got here is German platoon consisting of 3 squads versus a Soviet platoon, and before the game starts you will randomly determine the strengths of each squad, attach leaders and support weapons accordingly. These unit cards correspond to the on-map, so to speak, units. So first squad, etc. And the viewfinder, which is used in the base game, about 90% of it is still used for this variant. You'll need to roll for some things. You can roll for the weather. Victory point track is not necessarily used in this. Neither is the month track. Sudden death track start at 0, of course. Your beginning deployment will be determined randomly for the Germans. Let's assume we've already done that. Be assault move. Light, medium, or heavy for expected enemy resistance. We've got 3 here. That means medium. Type of battle, advanced, basic, or advanced battle or counterattack, I should say. We'll roll for that. We've got in battle. That determines the attitude of the Soviet AI, what it'll do, what it won't do. Artillery airstrike reminder, which we won't mess with for time purposes here. And your failure tracks, which are new. So you need to activate a unit for it to do something. If it fails to do so, that will be kept track of and can affect you negatively later on. Soviet unit cards to determine their actions. And this handy dandy dice tray. So your cups, your Soviet squad, on-map squads will have corresponding squads in a cup to be drawn to see who goes first. Your combat results shits and your terrain shits. So what we're going to do is, I should also add, the range is set at 4, and as you move forward the range goes down. So to determine the distance between 2, you add them together. So the distance between this Soviet and German first squad would be 8 hexes, so to speak. So that leaves action points. So we'll roll to see how many action points the Soviets get. They get 5, mark it accordingly. Leaders always get 2, so we can go ahead and mark that. And then we'll roll for the Germans. They get 5 as well. How about that? Pretty even matched battle at game start. And then of course in the base game, when it comes to rolling for this stuff, when you're doing the campaigns, there'll be modifiers depending on a month that also further adjust the action points that are received. So that's the beginning of it. And then to start, you'll determine who goes first. Now you can roll a die, or you can do the fast, lazy way of flipping this, slapping it. Germans go first. So we'll do so. Germans go first. All the decisions as a player, for the player, are left up to you as the Germans. Anything decision-wise for the Soviets has been evaporated, such that charts, die rolls, flow charts will determine what the Soviets do or do not do. Very little decision making when it comes to the playing the Soviets. So in that sense, that makes it a true AI system. So let's see if we can. And we've already placed our terrain tiles, which you do it at the beginning. 1 terrain tile next to each squad, drawn randomly. I'm going to try and activate first squad. Shouldn't be a problem, and it wasn't. Turn him to represent having been activated. And what he's going to do is move, so we'll adjust this to a 3. I'm going to siphon off, and this is another cool aspect. The leader, whoever's stacked with the leader, can use the leader's action points, siphon them off instead of drawing from the collective squad action point track. So that leaves plenty of stuff for the other 2 squads to do. So he moved out of that terrain, draw a new terrain tile. He moved out of the gulch and into a wheat field. You'll place it on top of the preceding terrain tile. There will only ever be 2 terrain tiles in play at a given time. And the reason for that being is if he was to move back, you'd pull the top terrain tile off and move to your preceding terrain tile. If he was to move back beyond that, you start drawing again and moving in reverse. You would not be able to move past 4. As far as moving forward, you can move up to 0 and then into enemy territory, which would be -1, -2, -3. To represent that, turn the die, range die upside down, or use a different colored die altogether. Successfully activated, moved into a wheat field. And I should also add, and I'm moving kind of fast here again because of the camera and time purposes, so bear with me, but before he did that, the Germans would need to spot the Soviets to see what they can see. To do that, you use your leader, and you'll roll tons of modifiers when you roll to spot. I'm not going to go through all that right now, just for time purposes. 7, he's spotted. If they're in the open, they're automatically spotted. If you roll a 2, they're automatically spotted. If you roll a 10 or 11 or 12, they're automatically hidden. Looks like everybody is spotted here. So that's that. And then we'll go back to, let's see if we can do something with second squad. They successfully activate as well. Now, technically, I would be able to fire with this light machine gun at him as we are just within range. But I'm not going to waste an action doing that. I'm going to move forward instead in the hopes that I can get close enough to benefit from using my squad. So, just the squad action point track. Draw a new terrain tile. He is also in an adjoining wheat field. And then that leaves our final unit, third squad, who also succeeds in activating. The same thing, turn him to represent having been activated, adjust that to a 3. Now, since he's at a stream, it takes 2 full turns to go around or through the stream. So it's going to take him a bit longer to get through it. He's halfway through it at this point. So that's where we are with that. And adjust that to 1. We're essentially done, even though we have 1 action point left over. That gets tossed because there's nobody else left to use it. Turn now becomes a Soviet turn. For the Soviets, again, you're going to draw. Let's see where the time's at here, looking good. You're going to draw to see who activates. First squad goes first. Well, let's see what he decides to do after we see if he activates. We'll roll for him. Ooh, he didn't do so good. Looks like he's staying put. Exhaust him. No adjustment to the range die. No adjustment to the action point tracks. But you are going to adjust this to a 1, failure 1. Now, if the Germans had anything left to do, initiative would pass back to them and they could do something. But as they've done everything they can do, it's going to remain the Soviets' turn. Let's see who activates next. Next we have second squad. So let's see if second squad has any better luck. Second squad does. Let's turn him representing him having done something. Now, I can tell you right now, since nothing is within range for him to fire at, unless we draw a do nothing card, it's going to be a move action. But we can see what happens. It is a move card. So if it was a fire card, it would have defaulted to a move card. Adjust this range die to a 3. They're now within 6 hexes of each other. And that, of course, leaves first squad, or third squad rather. And let's assume we rolled for his activation and he failed. That would become a 2. Whenever you have 2 failures, the turn is done completely, regardless of if you have 1 or more squads that have yet to attempt to activate, and it defaults back to the other side. Again, even if that did occur, listen, Germans are done, so that wouldn't make any difference anyway. That's basically how it works. You've got a ton of random events that can occur as you're running through this thing. Tons of optional rules, but again, the idea here is to keep things simple, to keep it fast and moving along. You want this thing to be banged out in like 30 minutes or less. Once you're done with that, you're going to roll on your sniper, not your sniper, your sudden death track, which we will do now, to see how far it advances. And you never know how far it advances, which is kind of cool, so you never know when the turn of the game rather is going to end. Advance that 4, and I should add, in case I failed to mention this is your sniper activation track. Beginning of the game, you're going to roll and mark that accordingly. Then as you roll on your sudden death track, if you roll that number, it activates a sniper. All kinds of things like that in here. Triggers, again, random events, things like that that make this game really flavorful and interesting. And to repeat, this is just the variant. This isn't even the base game. The base game has 2 to 3 times more stuff going on than this. A lot of stuff going on. But again, as I've been playtesting this and running through it, I just wanted to show you this, and again, been digging it, and a lot of fun. So that's pretty much it. And when you think of this game, and again, I'm going to show you the base game eventually, but as this is what we're working on momentarily, I wanted to run through it with you. Think of this more as not so much a game with a set of rules that you learn and play into story. This is more like a toolkit with a suggested way of using the tools inside. If you don't like the combat results table, and I should add, if just by way of quick example, you score 1 or more hits, you're going to draw one of these combat results chits, and you can get anything from pinned, which means you can't move, to suppressed, which means you can't fire, to the all-encompassing broken, which means you can do neither one and will need to rally and possibly rout. But think of this as a toolkit with a suggested way of using the tools inside. If you don't like the combat results table, there's a way to use a buckets of dice system, and that's the way 75 to 80% of the stuff in here is. If you don't like the way something works, the way it's suggested, there are alternate ways to do it. Again, tons of add-ons and optional rules allow you to do that. This game is not rigid by any means. It bends to your liking. You want to adjust the treble, the bass, the volume to your preferences. That's what this is for. This is more of like almost like a way to construct or build your own game in a sense than anything else. And in that respect, again, I think that's very cool, and that was the whole point of this thing from the start. So that's Ostfront, and I think I'm going to kill it here so I don't push my luck with this iPhone, and hopefully it's not too long to upload to YouTube. So again, this is the variant for Ostfront. I'm going to come back to the base game, stick the key in, turn the engine over, and see what happens. That's coming. You didn't miss a video or anything like that, but just wanted to share this with you because I was getting a kick out of it, and so that's that. So till next time, thanks for watching, and keep gaming.